Don't turn your back on the wolf pack.
I will not.
Don't turn your back on the wolf pack.
Oh, you got LaMarcus Aldridge guarding you. Drive the ball.
Who is playing?
Sixers and Spurs.
Go ahead and hit record, Bubs, because we are live.
You're live.
God, you're so dumb. Okay, so
Fair.
Boom. I'm gonna start us up with
What?
some Barnett's cherry.
Why is it? It's in a fishnet.
Yeah, I don't know. The girl at Specs. Oh, I use the term girl loosely. She was an older lady.
Okay, so that's far from a girl. That's nice. But at Specs, you're blaming her.
Yes.
Drunk commentary, Bubs. Here we are.
Yes. So this is. I'm just getting set up before I do my official intro. So those of you watching on YouTube are getting a little pre-show prep.
Raw cuts. Yes.
Man.
Those sounds would have been edited about 2.5 years ago by me in an extensive editing session.
It was rough living. A lot of birds chirping.
There's a lot of noises that occurred that were not planned on our early episodes. Thanks for sticking with us through 80 as we sit at 80 now. Don't go back and listen to number 6 because it sounds rough.
Also, don't turn your back on the wolf pack.
Down.
What a great theme that was.
Classic tune, story of my life. I just love the Outsiders. They are due to get my money because I want to buy some of their, merch right now. But yeah.
Don't turn your back on the wolf pack. But Bubs.
Yeah.
We are the Collar and Elbow Wrestling Podcast, and this is Collar and Elbow Live.
Oh, like SmackDown Live.
Yes, we have rebranded. We are now live and in person, and I don't know what I did with my lamp that I used for lighting in here, because the ghost in here has been very upset with me, and
the
so
Media
my
Hub ghost.
The Media Hub ghost. The one that I put like pillows and stuff by this closet door, so it doesn't open on its own anymore, like it did at one time.
Numerous occasions, to include the flicker of lights. You are in the haunted room of the show. It's not good. This isn't good lighting either. Now that we're talking about how good our atmospherics look, this is kind of trash. But I'm in the living room, Bubs, and honestly, why not? The podcast room looks different than it did, and I don't know, open space. The dogs aren't walking around yet, but they may. You know about this.
Things change all the time. That's life. That's how it happens.
They may lap up some water here shortly. I'll let you know.
I have a puppy that is obsessed with me, so she might be making an appearance if she's having
these unplanned, unscheduled talents arriving.
Bubs, that's what happens when you're live. Okay?
I guess. It's live TV.
Yes. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, great. Thank you for joining us. But we would love to have you join us on the live YouTube. Ugh, excuse me. So, there is a lot going on in the world of wrestling. And if you don't know, we are a podcast about wrestling. And now a live YouTube show about wrestling. I was about to say about podcasting.
About podcasting. This is...
We're constantly rebranding, so we will help you on your podcasting journey.
Have you heard about Anchor? Because...
Please enlighten. If you're listening to the podcast, you probably have already heard about Anchor.
That's right. You've heard that plug.
Yes.
Oh man.
But I haven't drank enough yet.
Now you've had your stogie. I've been drinking in the meantime. The mean time. That's an odd turn of phrase, but
you turn my phrase.
Good one. All right. Bubs, there's a lot happening in wrestling, and frankly, there's too much happening in WWE. I've realized this over the last 6 days. Too much. It's even hard to tell where the lines are right now between NXT and the main roster, and that's not a bad thing.
Is NXT the main roster now?
Aren't they the main? Right, they can be, but there's some, there's multiple people possibly performing on 2 different nights this weekend, because if you didn't know, Guess what's happening?
Oh, you didn't know?
Your ass better call War Games. War Games. War Games.
War Games.
War Games. Fucking Steve William Regal is
Lord
underrated.
Stephen Regal.
He needs to be talked about more.
One of my favorite
He's
WCW.
a man. Such a
awful.
man.
That was awful.
That's how you rib a guy still.
Yes, that's when you're tired of someone and they're shit.
But he's too good of a technical asset on the field, in the ring.
Pubs, I burnt my jacket earlier when I was lighting up my cigar with a match because I'm a classy individual, and I was putting the match out like so, and then when I went back, it released out of my hand and landed on my jacket. I thought it was already out, but then I saw flames come up, and I was like, "This isn't good."
Those flames were not there before.
No, they weren't.
They shouldn't have been there now. Was it ruined?
No, it's not ruined. You can barely tell unless I point it out. Hey, I lit myself on fire.
Well, you're telling us and the entire world now, Bubs. Everyone that's joining us right now live and that's going to be listening in later on the podcast or on the show.
Mostly joining us later.
Less live than we want. However,
have you been posting it on Twitter?
I have been less Twitter active. I have little faith in you when it comes to scheduling this lately, so I have not been very active on the tweets.
Excuse me that I have.
However, let me just go ahead and plug.
Very sick children.
You always play that card that is an overbooked storyline.
It's not a card that I enjoy playing. I don't do the booking.
Okay.
Mother Nature does the booking, and I don't like her.
When we start talking about a topic, I will need you to look at your Facebook Messenger because we'll talk about a couple topics of pictures I sent you to bring up a couple things.
I will show, if they're good enough, I will show them to the world.
They're on Twitter. That's where I got them from, so the world knows.
Yes, if it's on Twitter, the world knows.
It's true.
But we just had SmackDown Live. This is the go-home show for Survivor Series, and honestly, you couldn't call Raw a go-home show or NXT a go-home show. This was the legit go-home show because we've got Survivor Series coming up on Sunday, and every brand is being represented.
And maybe more importantly, we have War Games on Saturday.
You have all your top talents being utilized on Survivor Series if you're NXT. Yep. But you also have to put together a pay-per-view the night before, which is going to be great. I mean, we know this for a fact. So
how do you
there's
do
a lot. Exactly. There's a lot on the plate of those booking NXT. And I'm very interested in seeing how tomorrow night shakes out, along with Sunday, seeing just how much NXT gets the rub.
Which they should, right? And we can talk about this in detail in a minute, but that's going to be the whole weekend will be interesting, actually, leading up till next year.
Yes. Make a post on Facebook also, Bubs. Tag me in it.
Okay, sure. I'll do your dirty work for you.
Thank you. God. Yeah. I don't like doing it.
You patronize me more than you should, but yeah.
We don't have a Patreon.
Oh.
He makes an appearance.
We don't have a Patreon. That's true. For those of you that know what that is,
I patronize my gym.
Hate you for saying. Well,
I'm the big.
Okay, so
there's the dog slurping its god.
There we go. Yep. There's the dogs making their first appearance of the night. That's Daisy. She comes in.
She's new.
Because
it was Zeus that was really over in the beginning of this podcast.
He was. She's almost 2, so she's not new, but she is relatively new to our show, and she weighs in at about 70 pounds for being as short as she is, so she's wide and thick.
Okay.
But
you don't have to say it like that.
Well, New Brunswick myself.
Good.
Yeah, I'm pulling out a lot of highlights tonight, Bubs.
Yes, as we should, because this is new. We've rebranded ourselves
We're here for comedy. Wrestling in the podcast form is an underrated thing, so here we are. And I've been riding the drunk commentary train for about 8 months now, and we've really yet to get fully behind it, except for Ken on a few occasions by himself. But
Well, yeah,
so
when I get into it, I get too into it.
I've been
Like
on,
last
I've been
time when
left
we
to my own
watched.
devices for 2 hours that I've been drinking, and that looks like water that you're drinking. And if it is, that's fine.
It's not. It is Sprite and cherry
Okay.
vodka.
I want NXT to rule the weekend.
Yes, I feel. Doesn't it feel like it should?
They have, at the end of almost every show, and even NXT has been left feeling like the bigger brand and has been already getting slight rubs to a degree of what that can mean on a weekly show. But it's been happening.
Which means we're set up to be
Yeah.
disappointed.
In a way, but they can't really give us anything that we would overly love from this weekend. They can't give us Seth Rollins pinning somebody in the middle of the ring to take Raw over the top because we don't want that anymore, and it wouldn't be received well. So as far as
Raw and SmackDown are already established. They're already established commodities that have been around for a long time. You need for you need for NXT to gain ground.
Okay.
The numbers are already showing. That will be edited out in post production for the podcast.
It won't.
No, you're done with that. That stage of your career.
We're coming in live.
But the numbers are already showing that NXT is moving up. It has beaten AEW in the ratings. It almost got 1 million viewers. This whole Survivor Series build has been tremendous for NXT. And you have to keep building on this momentum. Now is not the time to lean on what you always lean on. Now is the time to continue to push forward and to continue to grow a brand that is growing. Like, it's almost doing 1 million viewers, and that's a big deal for an NXT.
Yeah, for a middle of the week Wednesday night show. Yeah, I think that's pretty huge. NXT has been kind of put into this Survivor Series conflict, and the only reason Survivor Series is relatively not special, because it's not, but it feels different this year, is because
It's part of the Big Four.
If you do Raw versus SmackDown, it's the same build every year, especially to the traditional 5-on-5 match, right? That never gets any different. We build a team, they're mixed of faces and heels, there's conflict within, they invade a show, we invade a show, and it goes back and forth. So last year, it was last year, right? Brock versus Daniel Bryan. That was good from the one-on-one
It was Brock versus AJ Styles, right? No, it was Daniel Bryan.
Last year was Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
So the year before it would have been AJ Styles. So those type of matches are good because we rarely see champion versus champion, especially when they're separated on brands. Those folks never touch each other anymore. So you add NXT into this kind of war, this conflict now, and it adds something different, a brand new taste that we have not had for several years because it's just been Raw versus SmackDown, and that does get stale even if it happens once a year. So you put in NXT. We don't quite yet know, I think, who their 5-on-5 members will be. We can make some kind of assumptions who it's going to be.
I don't think that's been announced yet, which is weird because usually that's announced pretty early on.
I'm sure it'll depend on how Saturday goes, and we'll get more clarity from that. But there's great stuff happening on Saturday alone. If you don't even think about Survivor Series, what NXT is doing. And like you mentioned, and we haven't been able to talk about it a lot, I've only talked about it on Twitter with some folks, but NXT won a week this week. They beat AEW for the first time in the, I guess, 5 weeks, I think, that it's really been a true competition. So it's significant because it almost is 1 million, like you're saying. That means a lot, and those numbers kind of continue they fluctuate a bit, but this was a huge step up, and NXT is pulling out a lot of the cards and at WWE really for NXT because they're putting out main roster guys onto that show to really help get over the NXT brand, especially for the build to Survivor Series. So a lot of stuff is happening, and I'm excited to watch it. Some things I'm a little more ho-hum about, right? I don't want to see Becky versus Bayley. I like Shayna. Now,
I want to see Becky versus Bayley. I think that would be a tremendous match.
Over it.
Ah, well, I mean, I definitely want to see Shayna Baszler and what she can do
Okay.
on a bigger scale than what she has already, because she's proven over the last year. Because you remember a year ago, we weren't that high on Shayna Baszler, and I think we've definitely turned around in that time span to where we're now claiming she is one of the top stars on NXT. Period.
Yes,
She's put in the
and
work and gotten better on the mic, gotten better in the ring, and she's been killing it.
it was more like 2 years ago for sure that we were very much against her because
Yes.
she was a UFC fighter trying to be a WWE wrestler performer, and we didn't see it yet. But Bubs, they have forced her to be strong, and they've made her almost unbeatable. And I've liked it because she's gotten so good now
Yes.
that
She's gotten much better.
she's not on the level of a Becky Lynch, obviously, but
Or
like
Bailey.
with and Bailey too, and she's her being thrust into a position like this where it's champion versus champ triple threat. Her getting the opportunity on the stage like this is going to be great for her, not just NXT. I mean, the NXT is going to flourish because of this weekend for sure. But if she can get licks in against a Bailey and a Becky, and I don't know if they would have her win, if they'd actually have her pin Bailey, but that could be huge. So that's why I'm saying this whole weekend has a lot riding on it for guys and gals like Shayna, and even I
And
mean even
Adam
the
Cole for his credibility.
right, and even Undisputed Era like Bobby Fish and O'Reilly against the Viking Raiders and New Day, I think, in that champions match for the tag titles. This is great stuff for these guys. So it's a lot to watch. This is a very fun weekend where I really
Yes.
don't care who wins anything because I mean the title matches are going to happen, right? Adam Cole's going to defend his, but really aside from that, we don't expect Daniel Bryan to beat the Fiend, so there's
No.
no real title changes. So let's
Well,
enjoy the
Survivor
weekend.
Series has never really been much for title changes unless there's been a title tournament
Yeah,
or a screw job happening or anything like that. The Survivor Series was never big on like big title changes.
yeah,
But what it can do is it can help build credibility for, I don't want to say lower level performers,
hmm,
but the guys and girls from NXT need a major rub.
yeah,
And Survivor Series is the perfect way to let that happen because there's not a lot of one-on-one matches. And what have we always said? In triple threats, anything can happen.
yeah,
Triple threats are the perfect way to take a title off of somebody. Triple threats are the perfect way to get a win for someone without the person taking the loss being hurt in it.
yeah.
So this is the perfect opportunity for some of these NXT stars to get and for they don't even have to win. They just they just don't have to lose.
Just don't lose, right?
Right. So and have a great showing. Even if you do lose, you have a great showing. Like this is the perfect opportunity for NXT to firmly plant themselves as really as the best brand in wrestling, period, which they have been and they currently are. But for a larger audience to finally realize, like, okay, these guys aren't just a lower level. They're not just developmental. This is a legit show that we need to focus on because
Hmm.
we're getting some of the best wrestling in the entire world.
We talk about this every year. How this time of the year, the fall, right? The
Yes.
pre-winter is a very
The
ho
fall
hum
of the
time.
fall, as
Is
Busted Open always said.
WWE kind of phones it in to a degree, and we just get some things happening, and that's kind of happened, right? Hell in a Cell sucked. Saudi Arabia was what it was. We got a new champion that gave us something to look forward to.
Yes.
But now we run into Survivor Series, which Survivor Series is almost a carbon copy of itself year in and year out. Not a lot
Right.
changes except for the people playing different roles. And now we have a different role being played. And this is why I say it's kind of an exciting weekend because I don't care really about any of the title matches because nothing's going to change, I think. I'm here to watch faces, guys go up against each other that we have not seen. We don't know who Adam Cole's going to face for the title. Like, when was the last time we saw Brock versus Rey Mysterio one-on-one in an actual match? I'm sure it's happened, but that's
Has it?
probably
That's
been a while, right? What year do we have to go back
I
to for
know.
that to happen?
And
So
it's been a good build for that. Now, I have taken a huge dump on Survivor Series in the past
yes.
because there's been little to no build of significance.
Mm-hmm.
This not only has been one of the best built Survivor Series that I can remember, but is also one of the best built pay-per-views that I can remember. When was the last time you've... Because this entire year, you would tell me, hey, are you watching such and such this weekend? And I go, that's this weekend?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's
no,
that's
I'm
happened
not.
every month except for WrestleMania this year.
So, you asked me, hey, are you watching Survivor Series? I'm going, yeah, I've been ready for Survivor Series for a while now. Because they have tremendous... Sorry, I'm just following the YouTube chat. Maybe I shouldn't.
Oh, is it happening? Let me get on
yes.
there. Okay.
There's been a tremendous build for not only what's been going on the main roster, but there's so much excitement for what could happen. It's been a long time since I've had a feeling of what could happen. And there's not, like you said, there's not going to be any title changes, and that's okay. But what could happen is the growth of the best brand in wrestling. What could happen is the creation of superstars. What could happen is legacies being cemented.
Or started,
exactly. The Fiend, this is his chance for his title reign to really kick off and begin. This is his first major title defense, and it's against
a well-established
one of the
name.
top 3 stars in the entire company. So there is a lot riding on this pay-per-view, and because of that, I am very excited to see what happens.
This one is different looking on paper. We get AJ Styles versus Shinsuke versus Roddy Strong. This is the only time of the year where we're going to get to see that match just by itself. Look at those names. Like, take out the titles of what they're all champions, but Roddy Strong versus AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. You can put those guys in any one-on-one matches, and that shit has the ability to go, 5 stars, well, 6 stars, because we're on 6-star productions.
Yeah, this is 6-star productions, Bob.
Yes. But that match can be great if they allow it to. But we're in the WWE system, so hold your excitement a little bit.
We're very excited about what could happen, but then we get brought back down to earth with the reality of what will probably happen.
Yeah.
So.
But that's okay, because we'll have NXT to give us our wrestling that we need the night before, and we'll have kind of the wall games. We'll have the excitement of the what if on Sunday, because this is a major weekend in wrestling. We don't get a lot of dual weekends like this from WWE, but it's a big 4, like you said earlier, right?
Yes.
The Survivor Series is good shit. War Games has now cemented its place in November, and I'm excited. So, Bubs, weekends of wrestling.
Yeah, and Wall Games. We haven't even jumped into that.
There's 2 War Games matches this week, women's one and the men's one. I love it.
I don't know how excited I am about that. This might be one of the as excited as I am about Survivor Series, this might be the least I've been excited about an NXT takeover, which sucks. But the saving grace is there has not been a bad NXT takeover. So
there has not. There hasn't been a bad War Games match either.
Although there hasn't been a tremendous build for War Games, which makes sense because the build has been solely focused on Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we talked about with Survivor Series, what could happen is exciting, but what will probably happen, not so much.
Sure.
With NXT, what could happen, I don't know. I'm not sure what to be excited about, but what will happen is going to be tremendous wrestling with some great in-ring storytelling happening, regardless.
Absolutely. Because Finn Balor is back on the brand permanently, it looks like. And he's a major star, right? We're told to believe that. And I have my disagreements towards that. But he's a major guy. And he's back on the brand now. And if he's a top guy, then the top of the NXT roster looks very strong now, especially if we're supposed to believe also
You've never been sold on Finn Balor. What is it about Finn Balor? And I know we've talked about this before, but I want you to make that definitive statement.
I wish
right
I
here
had
and
a
now.
real
I'm giving
statement.
you the platform to
maybe
tell me why you don't like Finn Balor.
what was Kevin Nash's quote? Vanilla white, uh,
Did you
uh,
call him midget?
midget white. Yeah, I forget
Oh,
the exact
there's a reason
words.
Kevin Nash is not in the business anymore.
Well, he thinks he is, but
Well,
it's
yes.
not. It's not that.
Don't
There's
turn
no,
your back on the wolf
there's
pack.
nothing great about Finn Balor that just draws my attention. I really can't explain to you what it is. He's just not my guy.
Okay. Have you watched any of his matches?
I have. I've gotten
Okay.
mildly excited about them at best. I've watched all. He's been. What do you mean? He's been in a lot of positions, Bubs. I've been forced to watch his matches. It's not like I've had a choice.
Well, I'm just saying. Yes, his character has never been anything to be excited about. But the demon is awesome.
All right, that's different. I will agree with that.
Balor.
That can win.
I can't say anything about him is extraordinary. He's the.
I bet he does extraordinary things, though, doesn't he?
Oh God, they
Get
are
that
extraordinary.
fucking line out of here.
They are ordinary.
The point is, Bubs, and I kind of want to make this a topic of conversation.
He's a big star. That's like he's been a big star everywhere
he's following.
Gone.
Yep, he has done great things, which I think it's good for him to be in NXT because there's too much power on the WWE roster. They could have moved anybody down, and it would have been a good decision. It just happened to be Balor. So what I mean by conversation with this is when you look at NXT by just looking at the roster, like there's a lot of guys. Like when you think of them, do you think they're top card main guys or are they not? So when I say Finn Balor, what do you think?
NXT, you're saying?
Yeah, in NXT. Yeah.
Top card guy. Yeah, just looking at the fan reaction, yes, Finn Balor can be a top card guy.
Matt Riddle.
No.
Not yet or no?
Not yet. Definitely not yet, but yes, potential is there.
Okay. Pete Dunne.
Oh, 1,000%.
Damian Priest.
Oh, the potential is through the roof.
Potential, thank you. Okay, Tommaso
He's not
Ciampa.
there yet, but Tommaso Ciampa 8 million times. Yes, I've said my piece about him, and I have so much more to say about him. But yes,
Keith Lee.
Not at the moment, but yes, I think he could be a top card guy.
Dominik Dijakovic.
No, I don't see it with him.
Okay. And we both agree on the Velveteen Dream, right? And then Adam Cole. So you name off a bunch of guys. When you start naming all these singles wrestlers, at least 75% of them we look at as guys that are like either at the top or we're like, dude, next takeover, you're going to be a top guy.
Yeah.
That's all NXT does. It's a goddamn revolving door of talent that just keep going up and up and up. And now they put in a guy like Killian Dane into this triple threat match, right? And I'm like, okay, I can get behind Killian Dane because we loved him when he was, in tags and in War Games. And
You were a big fan of him.
I was much more of a fan than you did. But even you saw potential in the guy from an athleticism perspective.
Right. As a big man, I always thought that he had some uncanny characteristics.
Godly things.
Yes.
And even Roddy Strong, we're like, all right, he's the mid-card champion, but
he can be thrust into that main event spot at any moment. He can turn on the Undisputed Era, go face, and be right back at the top of the card.
So the point is NXT gives you a shit ton of singles wrestlers who are either on the brink or on the absolute top of the card week in and week out and take over in and take over out. And we don't even have the Velveteen Dream on this card because he's on basically his leave, if you will.
This is what they should do. This is how WWE should run things.
This is how you manage time off.
Oh my God! Like, how has NXT run so? I want to say perfectly.
You do want to because it's because we don't have anything bad to say about them ever. And a little bit of us, we're jaded. We like the brand, right?
Yes.
And our subjectivity towards that kind of skews that. But they do everything right.
Yes, like Velveteen Dream, he's been off of TV recently. And they had that backstage segment where the Undisputed Era beat him up. And you know what? He's still in my mind. He's been on TV, but he's still in my mind. Because he was built a way that I'm always going to be thinking about the Velveteen Dream. He's off TV. All I'm thinking about is I want to see the Velveteen Dream come back. And when he comes back, I'm going to be like, I'm so glad I have the Velveteen Dream back. And you could do that with anyone. You could do that with Adam Cole. You could take him off TV and be like, man, I can't wait for Adam Cole to come back.
Yeah.
And then Adam Cole comes back and you're like, oh, great, Adam Cole, baby. Boom. The whole shtick.
Yep.
And you're just like, man, I missed him. I'm so glad he's on TV because these guys are not being overexposed. And that's what the biggest issue has been with people on the main roster. Look at Seth Rollins. At one point, Seth Rollins was the biggest star, or one of the top 3 biggest stars in all of WWE. But you know what happened? He started becoming overexposed. He was on TV 2 or 3 segments almost every show. So, fans start to turn on him. Fans forced his face turn because they were like, we love this guy. He has to be a face. He becomes a face. Fans are like, why is he being shoved down our throats? We don't want him on our screen anymore, because he was there every single show, 3 or 4 segments that show, and it becomes tiring to see someone that much. And there's no time off. So we're constantly seeing him.
Yeah.
And when you do that, when you overexpose these guys, they lose what makes them special. Look at what's happening with Roman Reigns right now. Have we seen a lot of him on TV?
Only for the build for Survivor Series lately.
Exactly.
But
and
in general, no.
People are saying he's getting pops when he comes out.
Because he's Roman, yeah.
And when he gets back into the main event scene, there's not going to be many people complaining like they used to.
Right, because it's been a long time.
Yes, and he's not being overexposed.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think they're waiting for the right matchup with him. That's going to be exciting to see where that goes, because it can't be Brock, right? And
it's going to be the Fiend.
Even the Fiend, I'm not sure if we're going to see that quite yet, because
WrestleMania is coming, and I don't think Bray Wyatt leaves WrestleMania with the title.
I'm not ready to have that conversation with you just yet, because I wouldn't believe it. But point is there's way too much talent on the NXT roster, but they're managing it all perfectly, which is got to be the most difficult part in wrestling, is the management of all your talent and where to put them properly week in and week out. Seth Rollins is a great example, because he went from being the uber babyface that we all wanted to knock off Brock, and it happened, and then things just didn't go the way, as fans, none of us wanted. It wasn't just a group of fans. It was most of us saying, damn, this isn't looking good. It's not sounding good. I don't like it. We need to change it up. So I don't know where he ends up going. Not saying that he needs to turn necessarily to face or to heel, but
we can both agree that heel Seth Rollins is much better than face Seth Rollins. 2015 Seth Rollins was tremendous.
I'll agree, and that's one of your favorites to talk about in recent memory, because it was long. He had that whole reign of his was very well done.
Yes,
but
you want to talk about being overexposed? He was a double champ and was defending both titles. I think he defended both titles at Survivor Series.
I think he also did it on like a Raw too.
It was SummerSlam, because they had
Cena.
Yes, because Survivor Series that year was the tournament for the title.
Okay.
That Roman won, and then Sheamus cashed in.
Dethroned? Was that when he became the transitional champion?
Yes.
Greatest transitional champion of all time.
I think there's some people like Ivan Koloff that would have something to say about that.
Don't name drop on me right now.
I'm just going to start throwing out the best transitional champs
I will not have
of all time.
Bob's NXT card. What are you most excited for? War Games 1, War Games 2, or the triple threat match to face Adam Cole the next night? Unless you're excited for Matt Riddle in the flip flops. I don't know. I left that one out, but I don't think that's.
You would think I would be a big Matt Riddle fan, but I'm not huge. Yeah, I know you. But I'm not a huge Matt Riddle fan as of yet. But honestly, there's not anything on the card that I'm saying I have to. This is must see. I have to watch this match.
Okay.
I don't like that look you just.
Well, it just comes with a question. Like,
okay.
The first match that's I don't know if it'll be the first match. That's stupid to say. The women's war game match, first time ever.
Yes.
Is that important to you?
It is a big deal. And
okay,
I'm not saying
not enough to watch it live, or
I'm watching it live.
Okay.
So to caveat what I said earlier, I said there's not anything that I feel is must watch.
Okay.
But that just means I'm not marking my calendar. I'm not saying this is at this time I am 100% sitting down and I can't miss this.
Okay.
I can't look on Twitter and see this get spoiled. But
Fair.
with that being said, I know that what's going to be presented to us is going to be great.
Because all the previous War Games matches to this have been very well done.
Yes.
So
and there's
I don't want
nothing
us
that
to,
tells
to
me
not watch it.
otherwise. Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm going to watch it. I'm not super excited about it because there hasn't been a great build.
Fair.
So I'm not super excited about it. But that goes back to what I said earlier. This is called a recall. With NXT, it's not what could happen. It's what I know is going to happen. And what I know is going to happen is that there's going to be a great card from top to bottom that's going to be enjoyable. And because of that, I'm excited to see it.
Okay.
Does that satiate your appetite for
nice word
for an answer?
It does. And I just want to know who faces Adam Cole the next night. Is it going to be Pete Dunne, Killian Dane, or Damian Priest?
I hope it's Pete Dunne because Pete Dunne is the best wrestler in all of WWE.
Wow, I got him on tape saying it.
Because listen here, I think Damian Priest is a stud and he's going to be a big star.
But not today.
But guess what? I didn't think that until I watched him wrestle Pete Dunne on NXT Live. After that match, I said that guy is going to be a stud and a major star. But you know what the common denominator there is? He was in the ring with Pete Dunne.
Okay, and we all know what Pete Dunne did with his NXT UK title and all those things before Walter came along and did his stuff as well.
Walter's a bad dude.
Walter deserves his own episode 81 of the podcast, but
it's just called Walter. Walter Live.
Walter Live, but not with him, just us. I'm uberly behind the Damian Priest push when it comes. Probably summertime next year would be great. By then, the Velveteen Dream will be champion, and Damian will still be an uber heel. I like that.
Imagine the charisma, because Velveteen Dream just oozes just charisma. He might be the most charismatic individual that we've seen in over a decade.
There's not enough I could get of him.
Yeah, I know. Damian Priest oozes natural, just pure charisma. Where the Velveteen Dream is, he can talk, and I can't right now because I'm just thinking about it.
It's too much.
It is too much. But Damian Priest just has that when he walks out, you can just see it. He has that it factor.
Bubs, on a side note,
you let me finish.
You right. Go ahead.
Yes, I write. I write. Okay.
You right.
You right. Once he hones all of the attributes that make him such a raw talent, he will become one of the biggest stars in NXT.
Like when he's not 23 years old and still growing. Yeah,
right.
That. As I was going to plug real quick, because this deserves a plug. Side note, Luka Doncic had 30 tonight and 14 assists.
Of course he did, because Luka is an absolute...
The Mavericks crushed the
I didn't want to
Cavs.
bring it up.
I will, because I think it deserves it.
They have scored 140 points in back-to-back games. I just want that to be known. Luka is an absolute monster. And what better transition from Dirk than to Luka?
Than another European player, and possibly Kristaps Porzingis. Why not?
Let's go from Dirk, a perennial MVP, to Luka, the second coming. Because that's what he's doing. He's putting up LeBron-style numbers.
I love it, and I'll tune in every week. Bubs, this is when I need you to check your Facebook and see the images that I sent you earlier on the Messenger.
You said on Messenger?
Regarding, I put out some votes earlier. I think it was either yesterday or earlier today. It was yesterday, actually, regarding the Impact World title.
Do you hate women's wrestling? Not as much as this guy.
Not as much as this guy. So, I commonly get hit with this from you. But anyway, Real conversation, real
I
quick.
do ask you that question
You
often.
do. Impact is trending in a direction where Sammy Callahan is going to defend the Impact World Title against Tessa Blanchard. It's going to happen. She's going to challenge for the world title. So my question to Twitter and to those of you
Wow.
listening as well
This guy
was,
has got
what
issues.
what is your real reaction when she does win the Impact World Title? Because I see it as a
Yes.
foregone conclusion. So I put out some numbers out there. Everyone in Twitter, aside from a few people, were fucking excited, which was one of the categories I put out there. So
Mm-hmm.
Bubs, topic of conversation before we get to the negative stuff about this is somebody like Tessa Blanchard, who's easily, maybe not easily, but it's a debate between her and a couple people. She's the best women's wrestler on the planet. If she is the world champion of a brand, Impact
Yes.
World Title, does that mean shit? And if it does, what does it mean?
You know, if someone asked me, should they do this? Should they pull the trigger on this? You know what my response is?
Mm-hmm.
It is, why not? Because
Okay.
one, she is the most over wrestler on that entire roster right now.
Yes.
There is no one more popular. There is no one more talked about than Tessa Blanchard. You know what 9 out of 10 wrestling promoters throughout history would do if they had a person that was the most popular, the most talked about, and easily the most marketable on their roster?
Put the belt on them.
They would put the strap on them. So,
Let's go.
if that person happens to be a female who is booked as a badass,
Mm-hmm.
a female who can go in the ring, a female who they have
Who
shown
can beat Brian Cage?
yes, who they have shown is tough, can go, and is believable, then why the hell not?
Okay.
WWF could have did it with China.
They could have done it with China. She's probably the only real example during the time, especially in the late 90s and maybe early 2000s, depending on who your champion was, where they could have pulled the trigger on her as a legit world champion.
And you know what? There's really no one in WWE that you can do that with, because the president isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Why not for a company that has struggled as long as Impact has, a company trying to get their foothold in such a crowded market that is
It is fucking
wrestling?
crowded. The weeks are packed.
Why not do something that sets you apart? Why not break the mold?
You're taking my argument.
Exactly.
Go with it. Run.
Yes, because one, yes, there will be people that say, I can't believe they put the world title on a woman. How dare they have desecrated, or, poor Jeff Jarrett, like this person mentioned on Twitter,
Yeah.
who said absolutely horrible, and he feels bad for Jeff Jarrett because he didn't intend his company to be so terrible. Well, guess what? His company right now, well, it's not his anymore, but
It's not.
Impact Wrestling is probably 2A when it comes to the best wrestling show on television right now. And you know why that is? It's because of Tessa Blanchard.
Yep.
Because of her, and because of how the show has been booked recently, more and more people are talking about Impact. And you know what happens when more and more people talk about your show? More and more people will start watching said show. And when those people watch, they go, man, you should really check out this show. They tell their friends, they start watching. They tell their friends, they start watching. And you know what happens? Your viewers go up. Your ratings get higher. You make more money. And when there's one person that makes you more money than the others, you put your title on them. You know why Stone Cold and The Rock ran the late 90s, early 2000s? Because no one made more money than them. No one in history's made more money than Stone Cold. So what did WWE do? They made him the champ. It's the only logical thing to do. Whoever is making you the most money, they become the champ.
Yep.
And just like our friend of the show just mentioned on YouTube live chat, if Impact puts the belt on Tessa, he said he would immediately become more interested in Impact.
There we go. And I'm going to cut you off right there because this is where I'm going to take my part in. This is such an easy decision for me if I'm anywhere involved in Impact or I'm a fan, because Tessa is the biggest star on that brand. I like Brian
Yes.
Cage. I can get behind Sami Callihan sometimes. There's
I've
good
never
shit
liked him.
that does go on in
Sorry.
Impact. The point is that she has done a lot of work. She has separated herself from just the Blanchard name, really, and gotten away from that and her father and the company that the Horseman brings with all that. And she has now become Tessa Blanchard. She is now a big star, and she is the best women's wrestler on the planet. You can compare her up there with Charlotte and Becky. So this is an easy decision because everything that you just said. If they make her a champion, it's so different that a woman as world champion holding the belt, I want to go see what the hell she does with that thing. It's going to make me find a way to make. If I don't have the channel, I'll find another way to find the highlights. I might follow their Twitter, right? I'm going to do something on social media. It's going to bump.
They do a ton on YouTube.
They do Twitch too, I believe.
Yes.
So whatever it is, they're going to get the bump from me, whether it's a follow, a like, a subscribe, a watch, because I want to see what the first ever real women's world heavyweight champion does with the belt. Impact is not what it really could have been. It's not a huge major brand, but we all know what it is, right? It's sitting there in the middle of a week time slot, and it has a few good wrestlers on it, and we like what they do, but they're just not consistent, right? And they're no Ring of Honor anymore, thank God. Ring of Honor has fallen off the planet.
Jeez. You want to talk about a fall from grace.
Yeah, and that's what I hope that they cannot do. So this is so far away from a sexism conversation that it's more about
absolutely.
Do the right business decision. As great and as big as Brian Cage is, he put her over for a reason. I think that happened. So I think Sami Callihan would do the exact same thing, and they can have that feud continue to go on. Point is, very simply, I want it to happen. As a fan, I want to see what she can do because it's going to get my attention. You and I might even have to be forced to have a conversation about what happened on Impact this week, Bubs. We need to talk about it. We don't do that rarely.
No, we don't.
If ever, unless something major happens or we talk about one of their pay-per-views, we don't talk about Impact Wrestling much at all. And if that happens, guess what we're going to be doing?
We're going to be watching some Impact and talking about Impact. And you know what? They don't even have to pull the trigger right now. But what they can do is, if they're not quite ready to pull the trigger, you can have a highly competitive match.
Let her lose clean. Let her lose dirty.
Let her lose, but the match is booked in a way that it shows. If it's highly competitive, they're like, wow, she could really pull this off.
She can go.
And if she loses, they go, no, I want her to get a rematch. I want to see this run back again.
Right, especially if Sammy pulls his heel shit. That's an easy thing to continue it on. You're going to get my attention. Give him 20 minutes.
Book. Impact. Give me the book.
Let's write it right now as we speak.
you know they watch the show, and they're big fans and listeners to the show.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that about them. But I mean, you don't pull the trigger now. If not, pull it soon.
Sure.
Because this is the hottest that your brand has been. This is the most talked about that it has been in a long time. So why not capitalize on this momentum?
Okay, I don't disagree with you at all, and it was a point I had to bring up.
I'm not yelling at you.
Well, you're talking to me strong.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at Impact. Our
That's
friends over in
Impact. I love doing these type of real polls where I get people's honest opinion and it's a real conversation because we get a lot of good feedback, and the numbers are ridiculous in the favor of this because what do they have to lose? The answer is nothing.
They don't have anything to lose.
You're not competing with AEW right now as far as TV numbers. They
lost their credibility a long time ago.
Yeah.
This will help build their credibility.
Yes. Believe it or not, as backwards and as almost against the industry as it is to say we're going to make a woman our world champion, you have the perfect situation at hand. And again, you can do it, lay it down, let her run with it, let her win it once. I don't care. Let's just see what the fuck happens because you're going to get a bump in numbers, ratings, likes, subscribes, all these things, all because of her. And if she runs with it, my God, you've got something special. And
you
special
think Becky
doesn't
Lynch
come
is a
along
big deal? Tessa Blanchard will blow her out of the water.
Right, as a world champion?
Yeah. Like this you want to talk about a women's revolution. This would be a true stepping stone for the legitimacy and the credibility of women wrestlers throughout the entire industry.
Goodness.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm just gonna lay that out there. Take it however you will. Impact and other
brands.
Yeah.
It's everyone else. Ring of Honor just released their women's champion
Uh,
unexpectedly, so
Ring of
that's
Honor should just release themselves unexpectedly.
I
Just
want them to do something good. This is not going to be a bash Ring of Honor show. I've made my thoughts known on Twitter 2 days ago about
I
your
have
entire
not.
brand, but y'all be trash, and I ain't watching your product. So move on.
Yes, poor Jay Lethal. Like, if
He,
anyone deserves so
of all
much
people,
more,
go to
he
AEW at least.
yes. Oh God, if he went to AEW, I would move my eyeballs over there.
Yeah,
Ugh,
days.
that'll put butts in seats.
That'll put butts in the seats.
Thank
Damn
you,
it,
Tony
Schiavone.
Schiavone.
Just the
I
greatest
remember,
fan pop of all time.
I remember that line, and I
So does
didn't think
someone
anything
else.
of it because I didn't really. Because he called him Mick Foley, right? Yeah,
I
they
think he
put the
did.
title on Mick Foley.
Mick Foley. That'll put butts in
And
the seats.
at the time, I didn't know who Mick Foley was. I knew Mankind,
Okay.
but I didn't know the Three Faces of Foley. I also was young and thought Dude Love was someone completely different.
Yes, you were an idiot
So-
child. I love
I
it. Me
was.
too.
We were like 10.
You
I
were
was so
like
stupid.
you were like 9, Buffs.
Yes. So, so I didn't think anything of it. I'm sure like the older marks of the day, that it's just, and I want to talk about that. You know, do you remember that as a kid? Do you remember
Live,
that?
I do not remember
No?
it live.
Okay.
No, I remember him being champion, but that was at a random time in '98, and I couldn't tell you where I was or wasn't watching shit live. I remember the feuds and I remember seeing the highlights, but I wouldn't have been watching it live.
God, I remember. So you know what? Let's talk about. I know a moment that both of us remember live that happened.
Okay.
So I want to. That's something I want to jump into. The Undertaker versus Jeff Hardy in a
Yes.
ladder match
Raw.
on Raw for the Undisputed Championship.
Okay.
You watched that live,
did.
correct? When that match was happening, what were some of your young? That happened what?
12.
2012.
Yeah.
2000,
No, no,
2002.
we were 12. I think.
Yes.
I think it was 2002.
What was your 12-year-old mind going through during that moment?
I do remember the idea of belief that Jeff Hardy could win the match. Because, and I can tell you
because it was
why.
a ladder match. Because it was.
It was, yep, and it was mostly because of commentary telling me why, which I knew all the thoughts, because like the advantage of Jeff Hardy being a ladder specialist, of being
Yes.
faster, being quicker, all these things that commentary was telling me to build up face Jeff Hardy and heel Undertaker. I was believing at the time because everything looked to be in the advantage of Jeff Hardy, except the Undertaker stands in front of him. So I can tell you that it was living off the idea of almost fantasy that Jeff could beat the Undertaker because he had the advantage due to match type.
Right, and so going through the match, I never really thought that Jeff Hardy would actually win.
Okay.
But the moment he hits the Undertaker with the chair,
The chair shot, absolutely.
the chair
Climb the
shot
ladder, kid.
completely changed my perception of that match, and I just remember being almost euphoric.
I want to watch it. Hold on.
I
Go on.
was jumping up and down. I was screaming at my TV, just like JR was screaming at Jeff Hardy to climb the damn ladder. Make yourself famous, kid.
Make your stuff. Good line.
That line, like when that was going on, like tell me, like I felt almost euphoric. How did you feel after that
So-
chair shot? As he's
The chair shot is unique because the crowd pops extremely hard for it, right? And JR does perfect commentary timing with it as well. So when you hear it, it's like, again, since I was living off the idea of belief the entire time, I'm like, oh my God, that's the one shot he needed, because he needed something big to beat
Yes.
The Undertaker. You just can't beat The Undertaker, right? So when he pulled out the chair and it was an unprotected chair shot, he takes it fucking to the dome. I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God, just climb the fucking ladder and the match is over.
yes,
So
like,
I
go,
can
Jeff, please. Oh my God, climb.
I can tell you that I believed it when it happened, and it was hard to believe, but
Because at the time, Jeff Hardy was probably my number one guy.
Okay.
I even had a cat that I named Jeff after Jeff.
Because of him?
Yes.
Wrestling had a unique influence on us.
Yeah, it did. Wrestling's weird like that. Thank you. Yes, Kenny Oak for booking and creative, of course.
Oh.
What? It's so loud.
Sorry.
Climb the ladder, kid. Yes, JR.
What
and
home run shot.
And he didn't win. No. And I remember being let down, but then he showed the resilience of he kept getting up.
Stood up, right?
Yeah. To get beat up once again by The Undertaker. To when finally The Undertaker just gave him his due. And I remember thinking after that, Jeff could really do it. Like, he could really be a champ. And it's so simple.
Bubs, knowing what you know now about kind of like the backstageness and how The Undertaker was the top dog, does it change your idea of like the top, Undertaker was the manager of the locker room basically, right? So with him to shake hands and lift up Jeff Hardy, it changed my perspective a little bit when I got smart to the business, knowing that happened, especially Undertaker as champion, lifting up Jeff Hardy, shaking his hand, saying, "Hey kid, you got it in you," right? Because Hardy went on to win multiple world titles, right, in several companies. So he did
and it
have
was
a successful
really only
career.
his own self-destructive tendencies that ruined an otherwise stellar career.
Right, with an incredible resume of what it could have been. So he still had great success, and the writing was on the wall way back then. The writing was on the wall in '99 when the Hardy Boys were doing Edge and Christian and Dudley things, right? For all of them, aside from Devon, right?
Devon, yes, was the only one who did not win world titles.
Yep.
At some point.
This wasn't made for him.
He was in Aces and Eights.
If he would have if he could have pulled out a character like Bully Ray out of his pocket, I mean, that's really the only reason Bubba Ray got a world title was because of character. Yeah, and it worked.
When that was
worked
a thing.
Very good in TNA. Bully Ray was a great character. So.
He was, and I mean, Jeff Hardy was a great character.
What, Willow or Jeff Hardy? Which one?
Both, actually.
Okay, sure.
God, that entire crew. I mean, Christian was the first one to jump to TNA and become a world champ.
Yeah.
And then came back and won a world championship with WWE. Edge, as we all know. Do I need to get on my soapbox?
I'd rather we not talk about Edge today, at least.
But that entire TLC match was filled with some of
world champs.
Yes, with Hall of Famers. Literally, everyone on there is a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer.
I need to find a Mark who's done the numbers, but like let's add up all 6 of those people's title reigns, like from every title they've held. I wonder what that number
period,
is.
Not
every
just world
title period, not world. God. I'm talking tag team, mid card.
Because Edge is like a 9-time tag team champ or something like that, and 11-time world champ, and
you got all the intercontinental titles that were held, and then multiple titles by Hardy and Matt Hardy as well from TNA.
Do we throw the hardcore title in there?
Because we do, because Jeff Hardy had his hand on there too. A lot of good stuff.
Yes.
Good times.
If you're watching and you want to do that research for us, because we won't.
I'll not do it. I will find someone that's done it, and the math could be wrong, but I'll believe whatever number you show me.
We can go to Wikipedia, create a spreadsheet.
Just like that.
Boom. Yeah, boom. Man. I gotta take a Microsoft Office course here soon.
Yeah, I don't know Excel as well as I should, that's for sure.
I'm not a fan of Excel. I've never have been, but I know people who swear by it.
At Ferguson.
Not at Ferguson.
Oh, I figured as much. Sorry.
The last time I was in Afghanistan. We
all
had
Excels. Everyone.
Yeah, well, no, I was telling you earlier about Lit Ball, right?
Yeah.
Our office basketball horse game, but I called it Lit Ball, but I spelt it LYHT to give us an extra letter. One of the guys that played, he created a Excel spreadsheet for our standings. We had win loss and then win differential.
Good, all the necessary stats.
Yes. And I don't know how people use Excel like that. Like that's some next level nerd stuff right there.
There's coding built in. You just got to know where to click and hit enter and put a period, and apparently it answers all your questions.
Ugh.
But I don't know. I find one and use it and manipulate it.
Right? That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
The internet's a beautiful place. It can help you. We're not sponsored by the internet. But,
the internet. It's just in.
But internet.
HTTPS right here.
If you want to throw a sponsorship our way, I would gladly accept that.
The internet.
Well, I use the internet.
Oh. Go play.
Where'd he go?
Steve. He didn't run away, but he scampered.
I don't think he can run.
You're
asking a lot of him.
This YouTube conversation was a little bit lit earlier, huh? What have I been missing?
Oh yeah,
those of you joining us live, we appreciate the conversation here.
Yes, keep it coming. Talk to us through and this is something this is new to us. Doing this YouTube live, it's new to us, so we want you guys to be interactive with us. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this. You have something to say, you tell us through the chat. We'll share it with the rest of the world on the show. And we just really appreciate we appreciate you sticking around with us for as long as you have. We've been doing this for 3 years.
3 years and digging, bubs.
Yes. And we're still changing. We're still growing. We're still adding new wrinkles to the whole shebang. What is that? That is beautiful.
That is the new Intercontinental Championship.
Okay.
Replacing Cody Rhodes' white strap.
I don't hate it. I love the white strap.
I do too. I don't know. I need to look at the details of this.
That's more of a. Looks more like they're emulating the UFC.
Yeah, a little bit. Shinsuke now represents the new Intercontinental title, so we'll see how long they go with that and him as champion.
Is someone going to be the old Intercontinental champion, and then they'll have like a undisputed Intercontinental Championship match?
Don't put it past them. They've united belts before.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on our. It's not our inaugural live show.
It's a journey, though, nonetheless.
Our last one, but it wasn't. Our last episode wasn't like a true episode. Well, it is, but it was our paper review that we loved so much. So, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for interacting with us. We're going to continue to do this, and we're going to be a little better at advertising ahead of time. So, and thank you for those that are listening, our loyal listeners through your favorite podcast source, whether that be Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Apple iTunes,
all those
podcasts,
things.
Google Podcasts,
Google,
all those things.
Idiot.
Just wherever you enjoy your podcast that you normally listen to us. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for being a part of the Bub Nation. We love each and every one of you, and we look forward to seeing you again. We look forward to you joining us on this journey, because together we can make wrestling great again. Thank you, guys.